Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to share with you guys a suspenseful and breathtaking event of my life that will surely shock you. But before getting into the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting and grossing real couple stories and meet me. This is Zach Gilbert. I'm a 25 years old man. Currently, I'm working as an accountant in a pharmaceutical company. Life plays such an unfair game with me. Back to 2019 when I got married to a young and beautiful girl named Sarah. Sarah was indeed the bomb. I saw her for the very first time in cinema where she came as my friend's girlfriend's sister. Well, without extending, I must tell you that I soon got married to Sarah. After having a relationship of about 4 months, everything was going really smooth and perfectly. I remember our physical relationship is really going well. We used to have a lot of fun and romance on the weekends, but things started going wrong after my wife joined a new workplace as a receptionist. I remember it was Sunday's night when my wife was continuously using her mobile phone. Her concentration was totally on her mobile phone that she was not even listening to me that time. I remember I was asking her for a good flick on Netflix, but she did not respond me and was all swept in screaming. I had never seen her so busy like that. In fact, before that she used to reply to my questions in the spots. To be honest, I really did not take anything on my nerves and thought that might be my wife was doing some urgent work. It was about 3 a.m. of the night when I caught a sight in my wife. I remember she was standing in front of the mirror like she was deeply noticing her figure. When I asked my wife to sleep, she seemed extremely excited and said to me that she wanted to join a gym. Well, my wife was really perfect, but a gym was not the bad option. So I agree with her. The next morning when I woke up, I caught my wife wearing a face pack with having cucumber on her eyes. She had not prepared any breakfast for me. In fact, she asked me to make the breakfast. I made breakfast for her. I remember she was taking stuff on her purse. Like if she was going to stay outside for a long time. My wife said to me that she would be having a gym right after she would be free from her workplace. When I asked her for the pick and drop, she refused and then left the house. I remember when I reached the office, I got an urgent project. I had to go out of the town for the project work. Well, when I reached the house, my wife was still not reached. I kept calling her but she did not respond. However, she called me at about 10 a.m. and said that she was having a surprise dinner with one of her friends. When my wife reached, it was about 12 a.m. Remember, she seemed extremely tired. As soon as she reached the house, she threw away her bag and slept. I've wanted to inform her about my project trip. But at that time, she was so tired and up in arms. So I decided to discuss it tomorrow next morning. When I woke up, my wife was preparing herself in front of her. I went close to her and told her about my work trip out of town. To be honest, I was expecting my wife to be kind of sad and upset on my way in. But her response was just beyond my understanding. At first, she seemed extremely excited and like she was really happy and wanted me to go out of house. But later, she cunningly gave me a fake expression that she was going to miss me. I hugged my wife and then left. My wife's behavior was just so disgusting during my whole work trip. I remember she did not pick up Michael and seemed extremely busy whenever I used to ask her where she was busy. Her answer was that she was doing her office work and was occupied with her laptop. After about 3 weeks when I came back home from my work trip, I was shocked to see my wife really chubby. My life thought that maybe because my wife left the gym and got a random weight. I remember the way my wife welcomed me was just disappointing. I was expecting her to hug me tight after seeing me after about 3 weeks. But she did not show any excitement even that evening. She did not cook anything for me. I was shocked to see her going to the gym. When I asked her the reason for her weight gain, she said that she was taking a lot of peanut butter that last few days caused her a weight gain. To be honest, I was having no problem with her weight. So I did not get on my nerves. But the way she welcomed me was really noticeable. She was never like this before. She became very irresponsible. Our physical relationship is really not satisfied because she used to be full every time. I remember whenever I used to be very high and asked her for a good bedtime. But my wife literally pushed me back and said that she was tired and did not want anything. The way she was ignoring me was a thing to consider. But I used to be really so occupied in my work that I never considered anything, but my wife's activities were literally not unbearable. She started reaching the house very late. She was gaining weight day by day. I was literally wondering about her. Like I never understood what her purpose of joining the gym was. I remember it was Sunday's night. I planned something really good for my wife. I ordered my wife's favorite pizza and pineapple cake. I made some popcorn as well. All I was doing was to make my wife happy. I really wanted my wife to reconcile with me because for a few months, her behavior was really disappointing. But that day, my wife really broke my heart. I remember I asked my wife with great love and affection that I wanted her to become what she used to be before I literally kissed her on her hand on her forehead and asked her to spend this weekend with me. But the way she responded was just really heart-touching. She told me with a fake smile that she wanted to spend time with me, but she couldn't skip her gym by any means. After hearing her words, I was really upset and then went to the washroom in order to take a cold shower. But when I came out of the washroom, my wife was nowhere in the house. She had gone to the gym. It was about 1 a.m. that night. But my wife had not gotten back from the gym. Literally that day, I was extremely furious because the way she was coming home regularly was just a thing to consider. I remember my wife reached the house at about 2 a.m. as usual. She was extremely tired. I even found her drunk. I angrily asked her who she was at this dark hour of night. My wife replied that she was with her pregnant friend who had just delivered the baby. She was so tired that she did not say anything else and just went into a deep sleep. I remember she had not even worn off her dress. I caught sight of some wounds on her neck. It was clear that the wounds were love bites. When I went close to her in order to see those wounds deeply, I smelled the fragment of perfume coming from her shirt. I realized that something must be wrong with me because the way she was ignoring me was really stimulating. I remember that night, my wife's phone was continuously vibrating. I decided to check out my wife's cupboard with the thought that I may get some more proof. But unfortunately, I did not find anything. I decided to chase her whenever she wanted. She went to the gym because it was crystal clear that my wife was having a relationship. The next morning when I woke up, I saw my wife as applying a face mask. She was really not concerned about her skin before she had not cooked any breakfast for the last 3 months. I was shocked to see her taking peanut butter again. Things were really complicated and beyond my understanding. I remember my wife as applying my powder on her neck in order to hide the life by. She hurriedly took her handbag and went out of the house. As soon as my wife left the house, I started following her. To be honest, it was indeed a very difficult task to follow such a clever and cunning lady like my wife. But I did everything silently and steadily without even letting her know about my intention to catch her red-handed. My wife went to her office. I kept waiting for her outside of her office in my car. I tried my best to hide my face because it seemed like the guard of her office was gazing at me. It was about 4 a.m. that day when my wife came out of her office along with some friends. I thought that maybe I was totally wrong about her and touching her for no reason. As my wife was coming out of her office along with her friends, I decided to go back to the house. I remember I was literally regretting that I was suspecting my wife for no reason. I was just about to go back to my house. Meanwhile, I caught sight of a handsome and smart man who was coming towards my wife. I was shocked to see my wife hugging that person. I remember my wife with that person in his car. I was literally sweating that time. My feet literally froze. After seeing my wife hugging another man, I started following them. To be honest, at that time, I did not even have the courage to drive the car properly, but I took some courage and kept following them. They both kept enjoying the long drive of an hour. I remember it was about 6 a.m. in the evening when they stopped outside of the gym. I silently and steadily followed them. I remember the receptionist was continuously asking me the reason for my presence in the gym. I lied that I wanted to admit myself over here and then hurry to again, started following her. I found her nowhere. Finally, I caught sight of that person who picked my wife from her workplace. But it was a really strange thing that my wife was not with him at that time. I was really confused. I really did not know what to do next. I kept following my wife and finally found her handbag outside of the room. I decided to open the door, but I was really very confused because I did not know what was going to happen next. When I opened the door, it was latched. I knocked the door harshly. And after about 10 minutes, my wife opened the door. I remember as soon as she found me in front of her, she was literally like a fish out of water. That time, my wife was literally sweating. She was giving me the gestures like if she was asking me to go from there. I remember my wife began to fix her shirt button. She was sweating badly that time and was having no words to say. Obviously, I literally pushed her partially and entered the room. I was shocked to see a mature man naked. As soon as he found me, he veiled himself and began to humiliate me. To be honest, after seeing the sight, I had no words. I was shocked to see my wife's lingering on the floor. That man seemed really rich in money as he was wearing an expensive watch. I was extremely furious and had no place of my angriness. I rudely asked my wife that what she was doing along with that man. I remembered that man was continuously looking at my wife as if I wanted to know who was I. I remembered that person called his guards and asked them to get me out. I kept asking my wife. Meanwhile, she burst into tears. She confessed something that will surely shock you. I must say, whenever I think about my wife's infidelity and cheating, my soul still trembles. She said that she had been in a relationship with this rich man since she joined her new workplace. She first met that person when that rich person came for an insurance policy in her bank where she was working as a receptionist. She further said that a mature person proposed to her and promised to give her a lot of money in return for having a physical relationship. She said that she used to come to the gym regularly as he was the owner of that gym. He wanted her to spend most of her time with him. My feet froze. And when I asked my wife about the one to whom she was hugging on her way to gym, my wife literally began to sweat. I was totally confused. I remember that Mitchell person realized that my wife was not just ditching him but also ditching him as she was having a relationship with the gym trainer as well, who mainly used to pick her from her workplace for his money gym owner. After hearing this, all I remember my eyes were filled with tears. I literally loved her purely. But the way she made fun of my emotions was not acceptable and not worth forgiveness. I literally divorced her at the moment. Her gym owner to whom she was dating also kicked her out and broke with her. I remember she was screaming badly that time. I had never contacted her again. It's been 4 months since we divorced. I came to know from one of my friends that my wife is now working in a cafe yesterday. I received a message from my wife where she was requesting me to reconciliation. She apologized to Lord and begged for forgiveness. But to be honest, I have no soft